When you have two coffee shops right next to each other and each sells exact the same coffee at the exact same price, service design is what makes you walk into one and not the other. Good day everyone. Our topic for today is about designing service processes. In this topic, it aims to know the difference between a service experience and a service process. Tell the difference between flowcharting and blueprinting. Develop a blueprint for a service process with all the typical design elements in place. Understand how to use fail-proofing to design fail points out of service processes. Know how to set service standards and performance targets for customer service processes. Appreciate the importance of consumer perceptions and emotions in service process design. Explain the necessity for service process redesign. Understand and how service process redesign can help improve both service quality and productivity. Understand the levels of customer participation in service processes. Be familiar with the concept of service customers as co-creators and the implications of this perspective. Understand the factors that lead customers to accept or reject new self-service technologies, SSTs. Know how to manage customers' reluctance to change their behaviors in service processes, including the adaptation of SSTs or as known as self-service technologies. Before we proceed, let us first know the definition of service process.
What is a service process? In the eyes of the organization, services are processes that must be planned and controlled to achieve the desired customer encounter. Processes outline the steps and in order in which services are provided, describe how operating systems function and how they interact to understand the value promise made to the customers. The service process starts with determining the needs of the customer and ends with their satisfaction. It includes all intermediate steps such as preparation, creation, shipping, and delivery of the finished goods or service, followed by after-sale assistance and evaluation.
We now go to designing and documenting service processes. The first step in designing or analyzing any process is documenting or describing it. Flowcharting and blueprinting are two key tools used for documenting and redesigning existing service processes and for designing new ones. A flowchart describes an existing process, often in fairly simple form. Specifically, flowcharting is a technique for displaying the nature and the sequence of the different steps involved when a customer flows through the service process. It is an easy way to quickly understand the total customer service experience. By flowcharting the sequence of encounters customers have with the service organization, we can gain valuable insights into the nature of an existing service. As for blueprinting is a more complex form of flowcharting, and it specifies in detail how service process is constructed, including what is visible to the customer and all that goes on in the back office. The design services that are both satisfying for customers and operationally efficient. Marketers and operations specialists need to work together, and a blueprint can provide common perspective and language for the various departments involved.
Moving on to the next topic under designing service processes, which is developing a service blueprint. In developing a service blueprint maps customers, employee, and service systems interactions. It shows the full customer journey from service initiation to final delivery of desired benefit, which can include many steps and service employees from different departments. Blueprint shows the key customers' actions, how customers and employees from different departments interact, the front stage actions by those service employees, and how these are supported by backstage activities and systems. Moving on to the next topic under designing service processes in developing service blueprint. So, how should we get started on developing a service blueprint? First, We need to identify all the key activities involved in creating and delivering the service in question and then specify the linkages between these activities. Initially, it's best to keep activities relatively aggregated in order to define the big picture. This can be done by first developing a simple flowchart documenting the process from the customer's perspective. You can then refine any given activity by drilling down to obtain a higher level of detail. In an airline context, for instance, the passenger activity of board's aircraft actually represents a series of actions and can be broken down into such steps as wait for seat rows to be announced, give agent boarding pass for verification, walk down jetway, enter aircraft, let flight attendant verify boarding pass, find a seat, and stow carrying on bag, sit down. Next, the more details can be added. Typical service blueprints have the following design characteristics that helps to see how a blueprint should be developed. And these are front stage activities, physical evidence of front stage activities, line of visibility, backstage activities, support process and supplies, potential fail points, identifying customer weights, and service standards and markets. Under the design characteristics of the service processes, the first one is the front stage activities, which maps the overall customer experience, the desired inputs and outputs, and the sequence in which delivery of the output should take place. Second, physical evidence of front stage activities is what the customer can see and use to assess service quality. And the third is the line of visibility, which is the key to characteristic of service blueprinting that distinguishes between what customer experience, front stage, and the activities of employees and support processes backstage where customers can't see. Next is the backstage activities that must be performed to support a particular front stage step. The support processes and supplies, where support processes are typically provided by the information system and supplies are needed for both front and backstage steps. Next, potential fail points are where there is a risk of things going wrong and affecting service quality. Fail points should be designed out of a process, example via the use of Pokayuks. For the information of everyone, Pokayuks roughly means avoid or unexpected surprise or avoid blunders in Japanese. In English, a Pokayok is sometimes referred to as a mistake proof or a fall proof. Basically, it is a process that helps an equipment operator avoid mistakes and defects by preventing or correcting or drawing attention to human errors as they occur. And firms should have a backup plans for failures that are not preventable. And lastly, under design characteristics, identifying customer weights, in which in this process endpoints of potential excessive weights, this should then either be designed out of the process, or if that is not possible, firms can implement strategies to make weights less unpleasant. And lastly, service standards and targets. It should be established for each activity reflecting customers' expectations, which includes the specific times to be set for the completion of each task and the acceptable weight between each customer's activity. In blueprinting the restaurant experience, there's a 3-act performance in which most service processes can be divided into 3 main steps. First one is the pre-process stage. This is where the preliminaries occur, such as making a reservation, parking the car, getting seated, and being presented with the menu. Like for example, numapan ka kumat restaurant, sumrekan and nagtokan, i-offeran da kati menu, so you can freely choose no anat kayat mo nga kanin. The second one is the in-process stage, where the main purpose of the service encounter is accomplished, such as enjoying the food and drinks in the restaurant. After the pre-process stage, after the pre-process stage, which is the second order mo, the in-process stage is which is the order mo, so tikinan mo, then chosen. The lastly, the post-process stage, so where will you will be paying your food. You will be paying the food you ordered. Of course, it is very important to differentiate these stages as customers tend to have different objectives and sensitivities in these stages. For example, research in the context of restaurants found that people are more upset about a delay during the pre-process or post-process stages than in process stage. Also, the pre and post-process stages typically are not the core of the service, and the customers want efficiency and convenience in those stages. Example, a convenient way to get a reservation and getting the check and payment done quickly when one wants to leave the restaurant, whereas the in-process stage has to deliver the core benefits of the service. Now let's go to the key components of the blueprint. Reading from the top to the bottom are definition of the standards for each front stage activity, principal customers' actions, physical and other evidence for front stage activities, line of interaction, front stage actions by customer contract personnel, line of visibility, backstage actions by customer contact personnel, support processes involving other service personnel, and lastly, support processes involving information technology. The next one is the blueprinting of full service restaurant experience. And the service blueprint, combined with discussions with customers and frontline employees, it helps firms to see which service and process attributes are important to customers at each touch point. Through both formal research and on-the-job experience, service managers can learn the nature of customer expectation at each step in the process. These aspects of the service process that require the attention of management attributes that are most important to customers and most difficult to manage should be the basis for setting standards. Here, the service provider should design standards for each step sufficiently high to satisfy and even delight customers. If that's not possible, then they will not need to modify customer expectations. These standards might include time parameters, the script for a technically correct performance, and prescriptions for appropriate style and demeanor. Our, restor- our restaurant blueprints show key standards for each touchpoint. As the axiom goes, what is not measured is not managed. Standards must be expressed in ways that permit objective measurement. Process performance needs to be monitored and against standards and compliance targets that needs to be determined. Importantly, even soft and intangible, but sometimes important, service attributes needs to be measurable. This is often achieved through using service process indicators that try to capture the essence of, or at least approximate these important attributes. For example, in a retail banking context, the attribute responsiveness can be operationalized as processing time to approve a loan application. Service standards are then ideally based on customer expectations and policy decisions, which in return are based on how these expectations can be cost effectively. In cases where standards do not meet customers' needs, expectations need to be managed. Example, when dealing with exceptional cases, accepted application approval times can be communicated by service employees. And finally, performance targets define specific process and or theme performance targets. Example, 80% of applications within 24 hours, for which team leaders will be held accountable for. That shows the relationship between the indicators, standards, and the targets.
Identifying fail points by the following: slow, timely services. This is a common service failure point, and if not addressed, it can quickly lead to low customer satisfaction and retention rates. Customers expect almost immediate acknowledgement of their problems and immediate resolution. They then anticipate that the issue will be resolved within 24 to 48 hours. This results in a loss of customer loyalty, and they may seek another service. Poorly trained customer staff. Customers who encounter customer service representatives who are not knowledgeable or courteous question whether The agents on the team are capable of assisting them with their problems and ignoring important other channels such as social media, website messages, and even email marketing responses. And fail proofing to design fail points out of service processes. The first one is to identify fail points, then analysis of reasons for failure reveals opportunities for failure proofing to reduce or eliminate future errors, and the need fail-safe methods for both employees and customers. After fail spots have been found, a thorough examination of the causes of service process failure is required. This analysis frequently identifies possibilities to fail-proof particular tasks in order to lower or even eliminate the risk of mistakes. One of the most useful total quality management methods in manufacturing is the application of Poka-Yokas or fail-safe methods to prevent errors in the manufacturing processes. The term Poka-Yoka is derived from the Japanese words Poka, meaning to inadvertent errors, and Yukero, meaning to prevent, fail-proofing to design fail points out of service processes. Server Poka-Yoka ensure that service employees complete tasks correctly in the correct order and at the appropriate speed. Surgeons, for examples, may have surgical instrument trays with individual orientations for each instrument. All of the instruments for a given operation are nested in the tray, making it clear if the surgeon has not removed all instruments from the patient before closing the incision. Some service firms use Poka-Yokes to design frequently occurring service failures out of the service processes and to ensure that certain steps or standards in the customer-staff interaction are followed. For example, at the start of a transaction, a bank requires tellers to record the customer's eye color on a checklist. Some businesses install mirrors at the exits of staff areas so that frontline employees can automatically check their appearance before greeting a customer. At one restaurant, servers play round coasters in front of the caffeinated coffee customers and square coasters in front of everyone else. And Starbucks baristas are trained to repeat their customers' orders to ensure that the correct coffee is served. As most of the procedure appear trivial, designing Poka-Yokes is a part art and part science, but this is actually a key advantages of this method. A three-step approach to effectively using Poka-Yokes includes collecting data on problem occurrences systematically, analyzing root causes, and establishing preventive solutions.
In setting the service standards and targets, service providers set standards for each step sufficiently high to satisfy and even delight customers. It includes time limits, script, and prescriptions for appropriate style and manner. Setting service standards and targets must be expressed in ways that permit objective measurement. In performance targets, it is specific process and team performance targets for which staff are responsible for. And the service blueprint, combined with discussions with customers and frontline employees, it helps firms to see which service and process attributes are important to customers at each touch point. Through both formal research and on-the-job experience, service managers can learn the nature of customer expectation at each step in the process. These aspects of the service process that require the attention of management attributes that are most important to customers and most difficult to manage should be the basis for setting standards. Here, the service provider should design standards for each step sufficiently high to satisfy and even delight customers. If that's not possible, then they will not need to modify customer expectations. These standards might include time parameters, the script for a technically correct performance, and prescriptions for appropriate style and demeanor. Our restaurant blueprints show KISS standards for each touchpoint. As the axiom goes, what is not measured is not managed. Standards must be expressed in ways that permit objective measurement. Process performance needs to be monitored against standards and compliance targets that needs to be determined. Importantly, even soft and intangible, but sometimes important, service attributes needs to be measurable. This is often achieved through using service process indicators that try to capture the essence of, or at least approximate these important attributes. For example, in a retail banking context, the attribute responsiveness can be operationalized as processing time to approve a loan application. Service standards are then ideally based on customer expectations and policy decisions, which in return are based on how these expectations can be cost effectively. In cases where standards do not meet customers' needs, expectations need to be managed. Example, when dealing with exceptional cases, accepted application approval times can be communicated by service employees. And finally, performance targets define specific process and or theme performance targets. Example, 80% of applications within 24 hours, for which team leaders will be held accountable for. That shows the relationship between the indicators, standards, and the targets. As we set the standards and targets for customer service processes, we must also appreciate the importance of consumer perceptions and emotions in process design. As Sriram Dasue and Richard Chase highlighted 7 key principles about sequencing service encounters based on their in-depth research and designing emotionally smart processes. The first one is start strong. Ideally, service firms should try to provide consistently high performance at each step. In reality, however, many service performances are inconsistent. Nevertheless, it is always important to start and finish strong. Second, build an improving trend. People in general like things to keep moving in positive direction. Thus, a service encounter that is perceived to start at an adequate level and then builds up in quality is generally rated better than one that starts well but declines at the end. Third, create a peak. If you want to improve the perception of your service, you are better off making one step sensational and the other steps merely adequate. Remember, customers tend to remember the peak. Fourth one, get back the experiences over with early. Unpleasant news, unpleasant task, discomfort, unavoidable long wait should be early in the experience, not an end. This way, customers avoid the dread of pain or aggravation, and those negative aspects of experiences are less likely to dominate the memory of the entire service encounter. Fifth, segment pleasure and combine pain. Since an event is perceived as long as when it is segmented or broken up into separate steps, service processes should extend the feeling of pleasurable experiences by dividing them and combining unpleasant experiences into a single event as far as possible. Sixth, you must finish strong. Performance standards should not be allowed to fall off toward the end of service delivery. Rather, the finish should be strong. Think of a rock concert which always conclude with big hits, comedians who save their best jokes for the end, and fireworks close with an amazing array of colors lighting the sky and deafening finally. And the last one is the emotion prints. In order to manage the customer experience well and implement the principles for sequencing service processes, firms can also map the expected associated emotions at each stage of the service process. Flowcharts that can describe how customers feel are called emotion prints. Remember that in consumer perceptions and emotions in service process design, we must put importance on our consumers' perceptions and their emotions. Because as they say, among the 9 of the 10 good experiences, one bad experience can leave a mark on your business. This is why businesses need consistency on their services, because when they make a mistake, this can become a problem for them. It will be hard for a particular business or a company to clean up their image or reputation after the stain of a bad experiences. Quite hard, but not impossible.
Service process redesign often involves reconstruction, rearrangement, and substitution of a service processes. One example of redesigning service process is McDonald's in Lawag City, nearby market. Typically, we are ordering in a fast food or other type of restaurants, lining up the traditional way until your turn to order. Months ago, McDonald's introduces the new way of ordering, which is the screen ordering. Mas napalis to yung process of ordering kasi you can think thoroughly no at orderem kasi makita mo yung menu clearly without consuming a lot of time knowing almost every one of us. It can easily adapt advanced technologies. Service process redesign should improve both quality and productivity by the following: examining the service blueprint with key stakeholders, eliminating non-value adding steps, addressing bottlenecks in the process, and shifting to self-service. In examining the service blueprint with key stakeholders, managers can identify problems in a service process and discover ways to improve it by closely examining blueprints of existing services. Customers, frontline personnel, support staff, and IT teams are just a few examples of stakeholders in a process that should be requested to study the blueprint and come up with a suggestion for how to make it better. Identification of missing or pointless stages and adjustments in the order are required for this. Stakeholders also draw attention to advantages provided by advancement in machinery, technology, and innovative approaches. For instance, Avis conducts research every year to determine what concerns car renters the most. The procedure of renting a car is broken down by the corporation into more than 100 small phases, such as making reservations, locating the pickup counter, entering the car, driving it, returning it, paying the bill, and so on. Avis asserts that it can quickly find solutions to customers' top concern in order to increase their pleasure and boost business efficiency because it is aware of these issues. Travelers want to pick up their rental car fast and head out, so the company has built its systems to fulfill that need. For eliminating non-value adding steps, often activities at the service's front end and back end processes can be streamlined with the goal of focusing the benefit producing part of the service encounter. Such process redesigns often result in both improved productivity and greater client satisfaction. For instance, a customer who wants to rent a car is not interested in completing paperwork, making payments, or holding out while the returned vehicle is examined. The goal of service redesign is to get rid of procedures that customers see as not adding value. Now, some automobile rental businesses let consumers reserve a car online and pick it up from a specific parking lot where a big electronic board announces the customer's name, the vehicle's name, and the numbers of the parking lot. The only time a customer interacts with the car rental employee is at the exit when driving the vehicle out of the parking lot, where the customer's driver's license is examined and the rental agreement is signed. The key is inside the vehicle, including the customer confirming the condition of the car. The customer doesn't need to interact with service staff when returning the car. It is simply parked in a designated spot at the rental company's parking lot. The key is placed in a safe and the final bill is automatically charged to the customer's chosen credit card and emailed to the billing address. And addressing bottlenecks in the process. In many service procedures, bottlenecks and the resulting customer waits are a common occurrence. The service process step with the lowest throughput rate defines the process's overall effective capacity. In an ideal process, each stage would have the same capacity, preventing bottlenecks or idle stations at any of the stations. The goal is to create a balanced process so customers may flow through it without having to wait at any particular phase, with processing times for each step being roughly equal. One may see the actual capacity available in each phase by calculating the processing time and capacity for each step in the blueprint. Simply seeing where consumers must wait can help you spot bottlenecks. Once the bottlenecks are located, management can remove them by allocating more and better resources, restructuring the procedure and its duties, or both, in order to boost capacity. For the last one, shifting to self-service. Increasing self-service can result in significant efficiency advantages and potentially even improvements in service quality. For instance, decades ago, FedEx previously targeted and succeeded in moving more and more of its transactions from its contact centers to its website, resulting in a reduction of tens of thousands of personnel in its call centers. Businesses are also utilizing smartphones and tablets to transition to self-service. For instance, the inventive fish restaurant chain Fish and Company in Southeast Asia and the Middle East replaced its menu with an iPad so that guests could place orders on their own. An app allows customers to place orders straight to the kitchen and displays all the delectable cuisine that is offered, along with tons of drill down information if required. To finalize the order, the app connects to the restaurant's point of sale system in the back end. By connecting to social networking platforms like Facebook and sharing their food orders and remarks with their friends, customers may have fun. Additionally, the app offers functions that combine dishes with suggested side orders and upsell menu items.
Customer participation refers to the active involvement of customers during service encounters, which consequently will affect the specificity, production, delivery, and outcomes of the provided service. Customer participation in service processes. Understand the level of customer participation in service processes. Service process redesigned for productivity and efficiency often calls for customers to become more involved in the delivery of the service. Blueprinting helps to specify the role of customers and to identify the extent of contact between them and service providers. Another definition of customer participation is that it refers to the actions and resources supplied by customers during service production, including mental, physical, and even emotional inputs. Some degree of customer participation in service delivery is unavoidable in many services that involve real-time contact between customers and providers. However, the extent of such participation varies widely and can be divided into three broad levels. There are three levels of customer participation, which is the high participation level, medium participation level, and low participation level. With high participation level, customers works actively with provider to co-produce the service. Service cannot be created without the customer's active participation. In fact, if customers fail to assume this role effectively and don't perform certain mandatory tasks, they will jeopardize the quality of the service outcome. Marriage counseling and educational services fall into this category. Kasla ko kaya te high participation level ket no nagpa-counsel kay kumadeta marriage counseling kadjay no nagpa-counsel kay nga agasawa no hanyo tulungan ti bagbagiyo no han kayo ag-participate actively nga kaslang denggen ni counseloryo and such awan papanan na DJ marriage yo like ag-fail isuna iso nga dapat active participation tapno may napintas to ti outcome na and kaslang yoga class inka yoga tapos haan kamit nga makipar-participate actively like imbes ko mga surutem DJ yoga instructor mo ket sa bali ug ubraem, syempre sa bali no kat service outcome na agbali ma-jeopardize no ka DJ quality DJ service outcome. Next is medium participation level. With moderate participation level or medium, customers' inputs are required to assist the firm in creating and delivering the service, and in providing a degree of customization. These inputs may include the provision of information, personal effort, or even physical possessions. Kaslang for example guys, inka agpa hair wash or haircut. Ninka agpa haircut, dapat i-provide mo ken ni stylist degree needed information and instructions no kasanot kayat mo nga haircut. Tapno met mo na dapat makiko-operate ka tapno han nga sa bality maubra na. And mesa pa yung example guys ket no kasang accountant ka kumakajay tapos syempre ti service mo ket i-account DJ documents na no adda the customers dapat or client rather dapat ket i-provide na met king ka digiji possessions nga masapol physical possessions, for example ket documents kada information nga masapol ni accountant tapno maubra DJ service. The last one is low participation level. Employees and systems do all the work here. Service products tend to be standardized. In situations where customers come to the service factory, all that is needed is the customer's physical presence. For example, include visiting a movie theater or taking a bus. In possession processing services, such as routine cleaning or maintenance, customers can remain entirely uninvolved with the process apart from providing access to service providers and making payment. Kasangay DJ guys, DJ first example which is include visiting a movie theater or taking a bus. Kasang no yung kagbuya ti movie ket syempre of course agbayad ka ken agpili ka no anang movie DJ buyaem ka jengem haan met nga necessary nga sikat ti mapan ag anat movie or naagtake ka ti ba syempre ibagam no yan at pagbabaam ken agbayad ka haan met nga ti sikat driver. That's all. Here in customers as service co-creators, customers are involved in service processes and can be taught as service co-creators. Value is created when the customer and service providers interact during production, consumption, and delivery of the service. This means that customers are actively participating in the process and that their performance affects the quality and productivity of output. Therefore, service firms need to look at how customers themselves can contribute effectively to value creation, and firms need to educate and train customers so that they have the skills and motivation needed to perform their tasks well. Amok nga pa familiar tayo amin ti Lego guys, DJ Lego nga ayam. So, Legos is one of the best known cases of co-creation and is often cited as success story because it managed to generate loyalty among consumers through their participation in the product they wish to purchase. The brand has its own community where consumers can contribute ideas for the brand's new models. That titawag na DJ guys ket Lego Ideas. It's an online community where members can discover cool creations by other fans or customers and submit their own designs for new sets. Can digito nga customers guys ket they can vote on submissions and give feedback. Diba? Nagbintas. This is the best thing, customers as service co-creators. Knowing what your customers wants, desires, ket build ka ti consumer loyalty ken maamom na ana talaga desires da isuhan nga masayang tay service or product nga i-deliver mo kanya da kasi isuda mismon ti nangibagan no anat kayat da ganern. Here in reducing service failures caused by customers, it is found that customers cause about 1/3 of all service problems. Therefore, firms should focus on preventing customer failures as is. In that, a 3-step approach is made to prevent customer failures. Fail-safe methods need to be designed not only for employees but also for customers, especially when customers participate actively in the creation and delivery process. Customer focus on preparing the customer for the encounter, including getting them to bring the right materials for the transaction and to arrive on time, if applicable. Understanding and anticipating their role in the service transaction and selecting correct service or transaction. So here's the following 3-step approach to prevent customer-generated failures. First, systematically collect information on the most common failure points. Second is to identify the root causes. Third is to create strategies to prevent the failures that have been identified. First, we need to know or collect the information for us to know no anat i-prevent tayo nga failures or customer failures rather. Second, let's go to identify the root causes. It is important to note that an employee's explanation may not be true cause. Hanya amin nga ibagbat employees tayo ket isuti napasamak. So, instead, the cause must be investigated from the customer's point of view. Human causes of customer failures include lack of needed skills, failure to understand their role, and insufficient preparation. Some processes are complex and unclear. Other causes may include weaknesses in the design of the servicescape or self-service technology. For example, unfriendly user machines, digitity, customer failures, and websites, kakasya ko ma. And root causes, syempre masabol tayong maamuan no yanat nagapuan na design nga failure no apay kasyay. And of course, let's go to third one, create strategies to prevent the failures that have been identified. Masabol tayo a great strategy for us to prevent failures kasi no ibagam nga if prevent ko kasi lang at obraan tayo nga step what we do and whatsoever. So we have here the 5 different strategies, which is the first one is redesign the customer involvement in the process, which involves assessing how the current functions, structures, and responsibilities are operating and identifying what would be done to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of operation within the unit. No anapay tikas lang mabaliwan, redesign no anati masukatan or i-improve pa nga type of service. For example, deto'y redesign ket kasla kuma digijay bank accounts tayo, digijay online bank accounts. Di ba dati-dati nga ket when at the pins na digijay online bank accounts tayo, ngem awan tikas lang biometrics. Tatan ket addan designing their lost card or forgotten PIN problems out of the process. Kas lang ada biometrics nga pag-open tayo, pag-unlock tayo DJ yan. Ken lang nga DJ, no napukaw mo tay card mo and whatsoever, han mo masapol mapan EJ bank agad nga makipilpila and whatsoever. Kasi no na lost card or forgotten PIN problems ket ma-process suna ken aging Christy customer convenience kasi mabalin mo ubraen di mismo balay tayon. Kasang no nalipatan ko matay PIN na ket forgot password tas malagip mo lakit din ATM number mo and whatsoever tapos tawagan da kamit no ka online bank J bank mo ta i-inform da kano si kamit lang DJ tao nga naka-forgot the password na and whatsoever, they need to verify it. But haan nga personalin, mabalin nga ijibalay latan. So, digit kamayatan kani redesign the customer involvement in the process. Second nga strategy to prevent customer failures ket the use of technology. For example, some hospitals use automated systems that send short text message or emails to patients to confirm and remind them of their appointments and inform them on how to reschedule an appointment if required. Next is we go to third one, manage customer behavior. For example, one may print dress code requests on invitations, send reminders of dental appointments, or print user guidelines on customer cards. For example, dito guys, ketkas lang, please have your account and PIN number ready before calling our service representatives. Dapat ibagata yon ti unan tapno awan to gulo nga mapasamakin kasi kasla kuma adati mawag hotline mo busy suna agal alisto ka tapos ket Imbaga nga, ma'am, can I get your number? Agali sunak lang nga ro din, di pa lang imbaga idi, di ba? Like nag-adot ka dyan nga mapasamak. So we need to manage the customer behavior tapno awan mapreventan ti failures nga mapasamak. So let's go to the fourth one, which is the encourage customer citizenship, which means a bundle of customers' positive, voluntary, helpful, and constructive behaviors that are beneficial for the organization overall or the service. So for the example na dito guys, ket kas lang ko madigijay ag-gym, which is customers help one another to prevent failure. Kas lang ag-gym ka kajay, adano ka tay gym buddies mo, ganun. Ket digijay nga gym buddies mo, agpapada kay no ka nga ti goal ket weight loss programs. Iso agtitinulong kayo nga ag weight loss. Dijay. So lastly guys is improve the service scape. For example, many firms forget that customers need user-friendly directional signs to help them find their way around, failing which they might become frustrated. For example na dito guys, ket kas lang ingkay kumat mesa establishment or mesa service establishment. Tapos ket hanyo masarakan no yan natay CR. Tapos kasang ti direction di employee sakit, ma'am idda kastoy. Iso masapol ti signs no this way kastoy ka pa left pa right kasi at the possibilities nga customers might become frustrated no handa masarakan no yan nana DJ. So dapat user friendly can very clear no yan nanat directions. Helping customers to avoid failure can become a source of competitive advantage, especially when companies increasingly use self-service technologies, which will be discussed on the next page. Always remember guys nga, tutulungan tayo at customers tayo to avoid failures na nga to't competitive advantage tayo compared to other establishment or service nga haanda tulungan ti customers da. Datat number 1 nga panpanan natin tayo.
The next topic that we are going to tackle is the self-service technologies. Self-service technologies, or SSTs, are technological interfaces allowing customers to produce services independent of involvement of direct service employees. Self-service technologies are replacing many face-to-face service interactions with the intention to make service transactions more accurate, convenient, and faster. Another one is the self-service technologies allow customers to get a service without interactions with service providers. The highest level of customer involvement in service production is when they carry out a given task independently using resources made available by service providers. In actuality, the customer's time and effort take the place of a service representative. Customers even supply their own terminals for internet and app-based services. Customers can generate a service without the direct involvement of a service employee due to a variety of self-service technologies. For example, automated teller machines or ATMs, self-pumping at gas stations, self-ticket purchasing on the internet, and self-checkout at hotels and libraries are typical examples of self-service technologies. As users of self-service technologies continue to become more accepting, additional solutions for making service transactions more convenient and faster will be developed. Information-based services, which includes the delivery of core goods in industries like banking, research, entertainment, and self-paced education, as well as supplementary services like information gathering, order and reservation placement, and payment processing, lend themselves particularly well to the use of SSTs. With the help of electronic recommendation agents, even face-to-face consulting and sale procedures have been converted into self-service procedures. In order to encourage customers to serve themselves through the internet and apps, many companies have established techniques. They want to keep clients away from more expensive options like face-to-face interaction with staff, using middlemen like broker and travel agencies, or voice-to-voice telephony. Self-service procedures can be seen and designed with the use of service blueprints. Peer to peer problem solving is becoming more common among customers, made possible through online brand communities and firm hosted platforms. According to research, enabling consumers to submit their queries online and to assist one another by answering one another's inquiries limits a company's ability to provide more traditional customer care services. Promoting peer-to-peer clients interactions can help a company's support service become more productive and efficient. For customer benefits and adoptions of self-service technologies, here are key advantages of using SST. It includes convenience, time and cost saving, fast service, and flexibility of time and location. Customers love SST when they bail them out of difficult situations, often because SST machines are conveniently located and accessible 24/7. For instance, a website may be accessed from any computer or smartphone, making it far more convenient than the business physical locations. Wouldn't you be relieved to be able to get cash from one of many ATMs in town rather than having to look for a bank branch if you needed money right away? The other one is the greater control over service delivery, higher perceived level of customizations, and lower prices and fees. Understanding what target customers want from an engagement is necessary for success at a customer's interface. A well-designed SST may occasionally provide superior service to a person. When SSTs function well and are required frequently, customers generally find them to be favorable. Customers that use SST could experience enjoyment, fun, and even unexpected joy. Children, for instance, enjoy placing their orders on tablets at restaurants or self-scanning at grocery store checkout because they find these activities entertaining. However, there are always some customers who feel uncomfortable with SSTs. Here are the customers' disadvantages and barriers of adoption of self-service technology. Customers hate SSTs when they fail. Users get angry when they find that self-service machines are out of service. Even when SSTs do work, customers get frustrated by poorly designed technologies that make service processes difficult to understand and use. A common complaint is the difficulty in navigating one's way around a website or completing online registrations and forms that keep rejecting their entries. Users also get frustrated when they themselves mess up due to errors such as forgetting their password, failing to provide information as requested, or simply hitting the wrong buttons. Self-service logically implies that customer can cause their own dissatisfaction. However, when it is the customer's fault, they may still blame the service provider for not providing a simpler and more user-friendly system, and then on the next occasion, revert to the traditional human-based system. A key problem with SSTs is that so few of them include effective service recovery system. In too many instances when the process fails, there is no simple way to solve the problem on the spot. The challenge for the service firm is to design SSTs to be as fail-safe as possible, mitigate common customer errors, use customer mistake proofing, and even design service recovery processes for customers so that they can help themselves should things go wrong.
In assessing and improving self-service technology. Self-service technology is basically a method of serving oneself in a business-related organization without the help of an employee. With the increase of the technology, service companies adopt self-service technologies as their innovative tools to create value. Convenience is a major benefit of self-service technology, and individuals that lack technological resources cannot reap the benefits of self-service technologies to its fullest potential. Some ways to improve self-service technologies are: make self-service easy to find for users. Another is provide content that is easy to read. Another is analyze and optimize user feedback. And lastly, measure the self-service performance. In managing customers' reluctance to change, increasing customers' participation level in a service can be difficult. Customer participation can be a complex part in managing customers' reluctance because it involves customers who offer constructive feedback and suggestions on a company's products and services. They share not only their concerns or appreciation, but also their ideas for new features or even new products. There are 6 steps in managing customers' reluctance to change. First is develop customer trust. One of the keys is valuing your customers and thoughtfully conveying that appreciation back to them. Take the time and effort to serve and delight them at every possible touchpoint. Examples on how to develop customers' trust. Firstly, you should be honest and transparent with the contents of your self-service technology. Second, be reachable. And another way is to provide top-notch customer service. Second step on how to manage customers' reluctance to change. Understand customers' habit and expectation. For marketing professionals and salespeople, it's crucial to understand the target audience, which includes current and potential customers. Knowing a customer's expectations and habit is important because it provides more information about a target audience. Example on how to understand customers' expectation is if he or she avails service from you from the past, then she was overwhelmed with the service, then he or she expects the same quality of service on the next availing of the service. Third step is to pretest new procedures and equipment. The purpose of a pretest is to identify whether work equipment can be operated, adjusted, and maintained safely, with any deterioration detected and remedied before it results in a health and safety risk. The fourth step in managing customers' reluctance to change is to publicize benefits. Publicizing benefits can increase customer reach, build customer awareness of your business and brand, and promote the overall product and services they offer. Example is if a service features something, then the self-service technology should provide customers with the same benefits of what the service gives. The fifth step to managing customers' reluctance to change is to teach customers to use the innovations and promote trial. Educating customers is key to success across all phases of the customer life cycle. Potential and newly acquired customers should be onboarded to use a service for the first time. Existing customers will continue to need education on added features, new services, or upgrades. And the last step is to monitor performance and continue to seek improvement. You should continuously seek feedback from customers, stakeholders, and employees throughout your operations. This feedback will not only help the company itself but also improve innovation to your certain products and self-service technologies.